Good morning, India, Denmark, and rest of the world. A new era has begun in the field of higher education with the coming of symposiums like RRSPBL. It is indeed a great pleasure to welcome Professor Gopalakrishna Joshi, the Executive Director of Karnataka State Higher Education Council, the organizing chair and the brain behind this RRSPBL symposium, to deliver his welcome address, set the context, and introduce the guests to this gathering. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Tandava. A very good morning to all those who have assembled for the inaugural function of Regional Research Symposium on PBL 2021. We have with us a galaxy of eminent personalities to grace the occasion and an enthusiastic set of more than 600 participants who have registered for this symposium. It's my honor and privilege to welcome you all to this symposium. It's my privilege to introduce chief guest of inaugural function of this event, Dr. Kasturi Rangan, to the August gathering. Dr. Kasturi Rangan is a distinguished space scientist who has done immense contributions to India's growth and development, leading Indian Research Space Organization as its chairman during 1994-2003, and subsequently as member of Upper House of Indian Parliament, and later as member of the erstwhile Planning Commission. Dr. Rangan's association with education is seen in terms of his contributions as Chancellor, Central University, Rajasthan, Chairman, Governing Board in Ayuka, Chairman, NIIT University in Imrana. He was the chairman of the committee that drafted India's new national education policy, which is considered as the best education policy. He has won several awards, including Brock Medal, Alan D. Emil Memorial Award, Theodore von Harman Award, and Padma Vibhushana, the second highest civilian award by the President of India. Sir, we are indeed privileged to have you as the chief guest for this event. We have with us Professor Annette Kolmos as the guest of honor for this inaugural session. Since 2003, Professor Annette Kolmos is working as Professor of Engineering Education and Problem-Based Learning at the Department of Planning at Aalborg University. Later, she was entrusted with leadership of only Danish UNESCO Category 2 Center, Aalborg Center for Problem-Based Learning in Engineering, Science and Sustainability. In 2009, Annette Kolmos became the first and the only female president of European Society for Engineering Education. Professor Annette Kolmos has been continuously involved in research and over 250 research articles to her credit. She and her team have been proactively supporting all our activities. I always admire her zeal, passion towards the profession. I welcome you to this function, madam. We have with us Dr. Ashwath Narayan, Honorable Deputy Chief Minister, Minister for Higher Education, ITBT and Skills, Government of Karnataka, who is also the chairman of Karnataka State Higher Education Council as the president of today's function. Dr. Ashwath Narayan is a dynamic leader whose vision, energy, and commitment are driving the transformations in higher education in the state of Karnataka. Sir, it is our privilege to have you with us today. The idea of hosting Regional Research Symposium on PBL, RRSPBL, took birth on the sidelines of International Research Symposium on PBL, hosted by UNESCO Center in 2017 in Beijing. It became a reality in 2019. This symposium is organized in collaboration with UNESCO Center for PBL, and the objective of RRSPBL is to build a movement of PBL practitioners and researchers in this region. We had our modest beginning in 2019. This event assumes significance for us as we are all implementing National Education Policy 2020, which is recognized as a visionary policy of 21st century to transform educational landscape of our country. RRSPBL has received overwhelming response this year with 612 registered delegates from 110 institutions representing 15 Indian states, and we have one team from Sri Lanka as well. This is a multifold increase in comparison with the previous edition. We are offering a total of 7 workshops with 1,638 registrations, which means that each registered delegate is attending at least 2 workshops and at least 200 people are attending 3 workshops. I hope that all of us will learn from the deliberations of this event and benefit. Wish you all a fruitful time in the next 2 days. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for this wonderful beginning and a warm welcome. Professor Annette Kolmos, a visionary of PBL movement, is here with us today to talk about the vision and purpose of UNESCO Center collaboration with India. May I request Professor Annette to address this gathering?
Thank you very much. It's such a pleasure to be here. Thank you. The Aalborg Center, which is run by Aalborg University under the auspices of UNESCO, is located in a small country up north in Europe. But even if we are only nearly 6 million people, which does not really match any of your big cities, I have to admit, then we have developed a mindset of innovation, entrepreneurship, democracy, and sustainable technological development. And we have to keep the goal in mind. We do not want PBL, problem-based and project-based learning, only for its own sake. PBL is a mean, and we can apply it because PBL can provide the opportunities for students to become innovative, entrepreneurial, develop a democratic mindset, and be able to participate in a sustainable development of technology. We know that PBL can contribute with these competences. And we also know that the deep disciplinary knowledge is still there. So it's not so that it's either or, it's both and. But this is not easy, I have to say. Change is not easy. We normally repeat what we have learned in the past. So, and therefore it's important actually to break our experiences somehow. Life will be remembered in terms of moments. 1.5 years ago, we had a moment with the first PBL. But this is another moment with 650 participants, all having run through qualification courses. This is something totally new, and somehow we are breaking some experiences. I hope that this can create a much stronger Indian society. Though it's virtual, I know, and we need to connect. But here we are, and these are our opportunities. It's also the opportunities to reach out. You can only change by creating communities, by helping each other out, by getting inspiration and knowledge from others. You can learn how we do it at Aalborg University, with students working half the time on projects every semester. And we are one of the first PBL universities in the world. But you can never, ever do what we have done. You can get inspiration. And I'm very humble because I know what we are doing. But I also know that the Indian educational culture is very different from the Danish educational culture. You need to build your vision. You need to build your dreams and create new practices together and to find new ways. And from the UNESCO Center, we can give access to knowledge. But you need to build your Indian capacity, both for researchers to get a PhD in the area, also to lead change and to make evidence, because evidence is very important, but also for practitioners to get training. So we can help from the UNESCO Center to do something with helping starting up PhD programs and training programs. But it's really India is huge, and you need to build up the capacity and the training capacity by yourself. You have a huge young generation, and with brilliant young people, which really need to be educated and be the champions and the leaders for a much more sustainable world. I hope we can contribute to the building of this new dream, this new vision during these days. And somehow, even if it is virtual, that we can make some kind of a community building and feeling that we are all in the same boat trying to reach some new goals. Thank you very much. And I wish you all a great conference. I'm looking forward to that. It's really a prestigious program that you are looking into the coming next days with experts from all over the world. Thank you.
Thank you, madam, for your insightful talk and supporting words. We are now privileged to have with us today the legendary scientist, the former chairman of our Indian Space Research Organization, and the mind behind NEP 2020. As our chief guest, may I call upon Dr. Kasturi Rangan to give his inaugural speech. Sir, please.
Good morning. Dr. Ashwath Narayan ji, the Honorable Deputy Chief Minister, the Minister for Higher Education, IT, BT, and Skills, and of course, Chairman of the Karnataka State Higher Education Council. Ms. Professor Aneth Kolmos, the guest of honor from representing the UNESCO, Professor Thimme Gowda, Vice Chancellor of the Karnataka State Higher Education Council, Professor Gopalakrishna Joshi, the Executive Director of the Karnataka State Higher Education Council, distinguished participants, I understand more than 600 are today being present, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to express my grateful thanks to the Karnataka State Higher Education Council and its Vice Chairman for extending this privilege to me to be with all of you today morning in the context of inaugurating the National Research Symposium on problem-based learning. I know it's very timely and appropriate at this time to hold this kind of a discussion and a symposium, primarily because Karnataka State is in the process of accelerating the efforts related to establishing the broad contours and also certain aspects of implementation in the very first year of the policy taking shape on the ground. The symposium, I'm very happy to note, is attended by problem-based learning practitioners and researchers from India and Sri Lanka, representing more than 110 institutions, as I said, about 600 of the delegates. Before I say a few words about this symposium, I would like to particularly say a few words about our Honorable Deputy Chief Minister. As you know, he has been really spearheading this higher education in Karnataka with tremendous passion and zealous attitude. He has already, even on the day on which the policy was out, he was there to assure people like us, along with the Honorable Chief Minister, saying that Karnataka has already decided to adopt it and we will move on this. True to his words today, Karnataka has already got a very outline of how they want to move on the higher and school education. And also, there are several steps that has been taken up with respect to the implementation part of it, thanks to his visionary leadership. So using this opportunity of seeing him in this August forum, I would like to compliment you, Mr. Deputy Chief Minister and Minister of Education, for this tremendous effort that you have put in the recent times to transform the education landscape of Karnataka through the national education policy. And we all thank you also simply because we are, in a sense, the stakeholders and would like to see the policy move. And you are one of the key persons to do that in Karnataka. Thank you very much. About many, the Karnataka State Higher Education Council have been supporting certainly Professor Timegowda, Professor Gopalakrishna Joshi. They have been really supporting the Honorable Minister and the state in terms of transforming the higher education. This kind of symposia are a good example of the dimensions in which they are opening up the educational system of Karnataka in line with the national education policy. A few words about the problem-based learning. Of course, you had the specialist speaker, the guest of honor, talking about it in greater detail. Problem-based learning as a pedagogy provides opportunities for students to learn and practice the competencies required by engineering profession in the 21st century. Implementation of the problem-based learning in engineering education has the potential to bridge the gap between theory and practice. Problem-based learning is a problem-centered teaching method with exciting potential in engineering education for motivating and enhancing student learning, especially regarding the project characteristics of solving real-life problems and interdisciplinarity. The problem and project-based learning means that the learning is organized around problems. Accordingly, learning in the problem-based learning environment centers on complex real-world problems that do not have a single correct answer. Students work on collaborative groups to identify what they need to learn to solve a problem. The teacher acts to facilitate rather than to provide knowledge directly. This strategy yields a higher level of reflection and understanding compared to the normal education. And at the same time, the students benefit by learning to work like engineers. In the recent years, the problem-based learning has been employed by a growing number of educational institutions to foster qualified engineers. At this particular point, I would like to say a few words about the national education policy. As you know, adopted by the government of India, this policy, of course, is transformative in character in terms of bringing in the newer dimensions of education and transforming the educational landscape of the country to be aligned to the needs of the 21st century. One of the key elements, of course, in the process of calling it transformative, the policy has taken address the questions of the school education, which has been transformed in terms of a new dimension, duly recognizing the developmental trajectory of a youngster. Then middle education, which is the undergraduate education, where we have brought in a new concept of an integrative, holistic education approach, what you call as a liberal education, which is the part of the undergraduate education. Higher education and research are also the new dimensions, including the creation of a national research foundation, another of a major initiative which the government is already addressing. And then, of course, integration of the professional education like engineering, medicine, and things like that. And also the vocal education, what you may call as the skill education, they are also integrated into the mainstream education. That is the recommendation in the next 30 years, to 10 years to happen. So there are several changes, several improvement, not improvement, several transformative changes we have brought about in the character of education. I would, in the context of today's meeting, I would like to particularly try to bring in the undergraduate education and how we have tried to bring in the question of holisticity as well as the interdisciplinarity into the undergraduate education. It is really a kind of a aspect of undergraduate education which aims to develop all capacities, not just intellectual, but aesthetic, social, physical, emotional, and moral capacities in an integrated manner. The idea is to provide students with opportunities to fully experience the impact of these characteristics. So What it does, the liberal arts in the process, is to develop both sides of the brain, the creative and the analytical side. So that is exactly what we are trying, and that is exactly what is relevant for the type of education that you are discussing when you talk about problem-based learning in the engineering thing. The development of skills such as critical thinking, problem solving, adaptability makes liberal arts education more important today than any time, given the fact that for several decades, the Indian education system has focused on early specialization and encouraged rote learning, which is now being questioned as an efficient way of doing. I would like to only give one or two good examples of this when we did this study. For example, there was a question of a development like a Macintosh computer, and Steve Jobs was asked, what is it that made Macintosh such a successful product? Steve Jobs has to say the following. Certainly, most of the institutions and in many countries, people turn out excellent engineers, but they are not necessarily innovators of a high class. What we try to do is to employ the best of the computer sciences engineers. There's no question that that is central to the development of Macintosh. But equally importantly, they were also expert in one or two other interests in life. Some of them were interested in music, some of them were interested in arts, some of them were interested in architecture, some of them were interested in certain other aspects of aesthetics and so on. That was also embedded into these designers who were top class computer engineers. So in the process, what came out as a Macintosh was not purely an engineering product, it was a total product, which was user friendly and it had such a worldwide appeal as a product system. So he said that that is how the modern engineer has to be. Of course, we have this in many other areas of Ekman. I can say with my own experience, having worked with the Indian Space Research Organization, in building satellites, for example, we thought that it would be nice to have this kind of a satellite education. It's a product of a multidisciplinary engineering, structural engineering, thermal engineering, power engineering, communications engineering, digital electronics, electro-optical systems, electromagnetics. And then, of course, once you put it into the orbit, there are the questions of orbital dynamics, astrodynamics, and things of that kind, controls and things of that kind. So there is a whole host of engineering elements that come into picture, and ultimately you call it as a satellite mission. So we try to introduce it in the university system, and now university started this, and many other universities today have this, all because of the fact that that base gives you a direction in which you can study several aspects of engineering, but in an interrelated way. This is just to give you an idea. There are such examples in energy. There can be talk of photovoltaic systems or battery systems. There is tremendous amount of engineering that goes into it, but in different ways. So a single area like electrochemistry cannot totally talk about a battery, or a photovoltaic system with the material cannot talk about the photovoltaic. You need much more than understanding the silicon. So that is where the importance of this kind of a thing is. You take the problem as a photovoltaic product or a battery or a satellite, and you try to dissect it and look at it in the totality and then create a final product. So that is exactly what we try to do this. And I am sure that this will be expanded to several areas of engineering in the coming years, recognizing the importance of this. And I am sure Karnataka again will be in the forefront with respect to this, with the visionary presence of the Prime Minister, the Deputy Chief Minister here, because he is somebody who quickly picks up these kind of ideas and asks, where is it? Where can we do this within the state? So with that kind of a positive attitude towards new ways of learning and new areas of learning, I'm sure that we are going to be in the forefront. And this symposium will be one more step towards such a major kind of a transformation that Karnataka is witnessing in the educational landscape. And I use this opportunity to thank everybody, to congratulate everybody for this very thoughtful organization of a symposium, which will certainly have major impact on several aspects of learning in engineering and technology. I once again thank everybody, and also again use this opportunity to congratulate the Deputy Chief Minister for his visionary initiatives in promoting the new education policy in Karnataka. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your enlightening speech. It is indeed a pride moment for all of us to have with us Dr. C.N. Ashwath Narayan, Honorable Deputy Chief Minister, and Minister for Higher Education, ITBT, and Skill Development. Also the Chairman of Karnataka State Higher Education Council, whose visionary leadership and commitment are making a difference to higher education in Karnataka with his path-breaking decisions. Sir, may I request your good self to deliver your presidential remarks to this august gathering? Please, sir.
Namaskara. Good morning to all of you. On the occasion of Regional Research Symposium on PBL, been inaugurated by our most respected chief guest, Padma Vibhushana, Dr. K. Kasturi Rangan. Under his leadership and his chairmanship, taking a long time to do a real good work for the transformation of the education system in our country. I would like to appreciate and recognize his presence as well as his contribution for the national education policy. In his August presence, the inauguration, he has inaugurated this program and already has addressed the gathering. And at the same time, the guest of honor, Professor Annette Kolmos from Aalborg University. Her address was excellent, to the point. Collaboration, partnership, and extending all the cooperation for organizing this program. And as well as our Vice Chairman, Professor Thimagoda, and our Executive Director, Sri Gopal Krishna Joshi, and all other dignitaries were part of this program and the participants. Without taking much of your time, I would like to assure that with the changing dynamics and the globalization and privatization, we need to integrate, we need to connect with each other. So in this direction, how much we do, it is less. So we need to continue to engage the good, to know the good practices across the world from our side and other side. So in this program, I would like to just highlight a few things. With regard to the state of Karnataka and Bengaluru, it has become the city of innovation for the entire world. And a lot of good things are happening, as Professor Annette almost indicated, innovation and entrepreneurship. Bengaluru has become the ideal place for the entrepreneurship and innovation and startups, basically on the problem-based learning and the problem-based solutions. All the GCCs, GICs, research, most of the companies, they're based in Bangalore, and the kind of talent we are getting from across the world, from across the country, this has become the most happening place. Probably this kind of networking and collaboration is way forward and timely. The implementation of the national education policy can bring in a huge difference. Probably it can trigger a big transformation which can be seen within a short span. And I'm lucky to be the part of this entire process, to facilitate, to encourage. This is a lifetime opportunity for anybody. And probably in this function, probably I was just sharing, this is a golden opportunity. So we'll do whatever it requires to promote. There should not be any limitation, because our asset is knowledge. The knowledge is a way forward to solve and to face any kind of challenges or problems being faced by the society. This direction will promote and facilitate all our stakeholders, how much they might take interest. Nothing should stop us with collaborating and working together. And government, already I discussed with our Executive Director, Gopal Krishna Joshi, with regard to and I appreciate Aalborg University has come forward to give great concession for the student fees for the PhD programs. And we are having a big target with regard to the number of PhD graduates, quality PhD people to be produced in a very big number in a quality. So in this direction, even the government will come forward to encourage all the people who would like to get enrolled in the PhD program, to encourage them to come out with the best of the best university with the right learning and the right attitude with regard to the research and with solutions. So with these few words, I would like to stop here and wish the program, the Regional Research Symposium, all the best, and I wish all the participants the best wishes, and the panelists who have come from across the world and who have been participating and who have been part of this program. I wish them all the best, and all the organizers for taking so much of interest, and the sponsors also. Thank you one and all. Namaskara. Jai Hind, Jai Karnataka.
Thank you, sir, for your supporting words and best wishes to the symposium. So last but not the least, it's time to give word of thanks to all of our guests of this inaugural session. I call upon Ms. Preeti to give word of thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Tandava. We now approach the end of the inaugural function, and I, Preeti Baligar, on behalf of the organizing committee, collaborators, event partners, sponsors, and institutional partners, feel privileged to propose the vote of thanks. I sincerely thank our chief guest, Professor K. Kasturi Rangan, and guest of honor, Professor Annette Kolmos, for kindly accepting our invitation and gracing the inaugural function. I also thank our Deputy CM, Dr. C.N. Ashwath Narayan, for presiding over the inaugural. Today, we have had the great opportunity to hear your thoughts, and this will pave the way to spearhead the PBL movement in India far and beyond the symposium. Thank you all.